Welcome to the LEP Collaborative Podcast, the show where licensed educational psychologists, school psychs, and educational professionals come together to share stories, swap strategies, and sprinkle a little fun into our professional journeys. I'm your host, Bethany Zoeller, and in every episode, we'll dive into candid conversations, expert insights, and maybe a few surprises. Let's connect, learn, and grow collaboratively. All right. Well, welcome to the podcast. How are you, Kim?
I'm doing well. Thank you for having me on, Bethany.
Absolutely. It's so good to chat. So I was trying to think before you came on. I think we really just started chatting through social media. That's probably how we
Yeah, I
initially
think we actually met in person for the first time last year at
at
CASP.
CASP. But I was
Yeah.
thinking, I'm like, I think we had talked like on one of the Facebook groups, most likely before then. And then
Yes, I think
we got to
so.
talk after I had what I call my tantrum at the CASP LEP panel. And but
Brought up some valid points.
it was not my most gracious moment, but I felt like there were things that needed to be said. And then you and I remember we connected afterwards because we were similarly impassioned by some of the things that had come up in that conversation. And since
Yeah,
then, now we both are on the LEP committee for CASP.
and I'm so excited to further clarify our scope and all of that. I think it's great work that we're doing.
I think it's super cool. And it's been interesting. I know I always tease that the LEP the committees, CAS committees are like Fight Club. We're not allowed to talk about them outside. But so I know we're not allowed to go. But it has made me, the work that we're doing has made me feel so much more confident in what I am doing in my office. And so yeah. So anyways, it's good. Someday people will know what we're doing, but we're not allowed to talk about it right now.
Right. I
Right.
feel the same. Yeah. And it's also just really helpful, to speak to other LEPs because we don't always get that opportunity very often.
For sure, for sure. Yeah. And it's so well, and this is why I wanted to do the podcast is just because I think everybody does things a little bit differently
Mhm.
and we can totally learn from each other's stories and what we're focusing on in our office and be like, oh, okay. So I am super excited to have this conversation with you because I know you've got Turning Points Educational Solutions and you're in San Jose.
We are in San Jose. We have an office in downtown Willow Glen, and we just opened a second office in Redwood City, just up the peninsula a little bit.
That is super exciting. Very
Very
cool.
exciting.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to start off with a very heavy hitting question, and that is if you could have a superpower for one day, what would it be?
Oh, one day only. Okay, this changes my answer a little bit,
Okay.
but it's always the same with my superpower. I would definitely choose teleportation, like just being able to snap my fingers. Really, it's the same for you?
Yeah,
Oh, I love it. What brilliant minds think alike, right?
that's it.
Oh my gosh, I have so many reasons why this would be fabulous.
Hmm.
B- Firstly, it's kind of selfish because just to be able to travel so much easier, right?
Hmm.
And be in other places. And I think travel is so important to learn from other people's cultures and ways of doing things and see that we're all pretty more similar than we are different.
Yeah.
So I think that's important. But oh my gosh, in my work, it would also be so much easier to go back and forth between offices and not have a commute. I'd have more time, to see and help more people and things like that. But I also like tweaking this question just a little bit more because I was thinking about this on a more global scale. Like,
Hmm.
if everyone had this superpower permanently, think about school districts. I think
Oh,
the biggest line item of expenses for school districts is transportation. If they didn't
it's
have
true.
that huge transportation budget and they could give all that money to interventions for students, think what schools could do.
Yeah. I'd
That
never
would be
gone there with that.
huge.
That's
Yeah.
amazing. You're right. You're right. Like whenever you have to, especially if you have to, and in my area, we have so many small, tiny schools that don't have the services. And so they are getting on buses and they are living and just how much time, not just the finances, but the time that they would have to dedicate. That's a
Right.
yes. I don't know who we
Yeah.
write a letter to get that happening, but
Well, and then we wouldn't have wars over oil. Think about
no,
that. We could,
no,
just it would be a game
it
changer in
would
the
change the
world.
world. It would
Yes.
totally. That's
Yeah.
no, that's always my go-to answer too, is I'm like, I don't like being in a car. I don't like an air, and I want to travel, but I hate the flight time. I went to Europe this summer, which was amazing, but it was like, you're stuck in this little tiny space for yeah, no, teleporter. But
Yeah.
you went much nicer with it. I was totally just being, selfish.
Oh, I get the selfish part too. That was like my original reason.
Right,
Yeah.
right. Okay, all right, cool.
Yes.
No, that's so funny. When you said it, I was like, yay, I have the same one.
Yeah.
Okay. Did you have a childhood dream job? And if you did, how closely does it align with what you're doing now?
When I was younger, I remembered really enjoying the writing. But more the creative aspects of writing, like I used to like to write poems and write
Mhm.
about how the world could be ideal and different and, things like that. So now there's a lot of writing in what we do. We write reports all the time, very long reports. It's not quite the creative writing that I did in the past, but
Right.
yeah, I used to be a writer, want to be a writer, and that's a huge part of what we do.
Yeah. Do you ever think you'll be a writer? Got any books in
Probably
your head?
not. Probably not. Yeah.
Yeah.
I would like to, still, I always keep working on my reports though, trying to make them better, more neuroaffirming, more insightful, and
hmm
things like that. So I think that's how I get that piece out.
This isn't in the list of questions that I gave you, but it goes along with what we were talking about. Are your reports, do you feel like they're fairly similar to the type of reports you wrote when you were a school psychologist, or is your template and format like very different?
It's different. I think, when you start out, you're kind of grouping things by test, versus, area of need and things like that. So I've definitely switched to more that neuropsych model, that I
hmm
learned from the school neuropsych program, and, things like that. I think, and I'm always like trying to figure out how to make the reports more user friendly and things like that. So right now we're tossing around the idea of putting our summary and diagnosis and recommendations first in the report and things later. So we're always kind of tweaking things as we go along. So it's changed, over the years all the time.
Yeah. Yeah, I switched to that format about a year and a half ago, and only have gotten positive feedback. So if that helps in your decision making. Dr. Stephanie Nelson stuff that's out there, I think she's like the peer consultant. Don't
Yeah,
quote me
she's
on that.
amazing.
That her stuff is phenomenal. That's what I modeled mine after. Um,
Yeah,
yeah, no, it is. I think that for school psychs, we're taught in a specific manner. And everybody kind of has that same template that's we're going page by page by page by page. And I think that when you get to be in private practice or an LEP world, there's so much more freedom that you're almost like, it's almost scary. It's like, oh, I'm going to mess this up, or and I don't have all this boilerplate in my report, and I have to have this boilerplate in my report. And I'm like, no, you don't anymore. And it's so weird though, like just the mind shift of who you're writing your reports for.
exactly.
Yeah.
More freeing.
Yep. Okay. Next question. W- what led you to wanting to become an LEP? Have you always, like when you were in school psych program, was that always the dream, or did something happen, or what sparked your LEP dream?
No, it was not even on my radar for a long time. I'm from Nebraska and did my college there, and then came here and did an internship and worked in the schools for 15 years.
Mhm.
And I loved working in the schools. I loved so much about being in the schools, and I thought I'd be there forever. But then I did the neuropsych program and,
Okay.
started to learn even more. And it was a gradual decision. I can't say it was like a one moment, kind of thing, but it started to be where I felt like my reports could be so much more useful
Mm.
in the private practice world versus in the school setting where it's more of a gatekeeper kind of thing. I really feel like I was doing some really good assessments, writing some really good reports, but they were allowing people to be eligible for services, but then I didn't really feel like they were used as much as they could be after that.
Yeah.
Um, and then also not always feeling like students were getting the services that were best, even
Mhm.
after that as well. So some of those things are what led me to, want to go into the private practice world,
And
where I feel
how long
like
have you been in private practice?
since 2008, I started part-time, and then since 2013, I've had my own practice.
That's amazing. Fantastic.
Yeah.
Okay, so yours was a slow dream. I think that's a pretty common. I actually met somebody the other day who had never even heard about being an LEP, and they had been a school psych for 10 years. And they were like, I
Okay.
just learned about it. And I'm like, wow, that's amazing to me that you didn't have it. But yeah, I do think that
Yeah,
that's kind of like you realize your dreams kind of have morphed, right? You still want to be in that helping role,
exactly.
but we can expand who we are
Right.
helping and how we are helping,
Right.
and have more of a voice instead of just being a did they qualify or did they not?
Right.
Yeah. Okay. So transitioning, it sounds like when you transitioned from school psych to LEP, it was a slower process in the beginning. So you did both. You were working a full-time school psych gig and then doing this on the side.
I actually, I think the first year I did that, and then after that, I reduced to 80% in the district. And so I had a little more, like 1 day a week, I could be full, in the private practice world. I did that for, I think, 5 years, and
Okay.
then, started my own practice and jumped in fully. So,
Wow. Okay. So what was your day like? What were you doing in your LEP, like when it was just the side hustle? Like what were you focusing on in that point?
yeah, just assessments. I actually started working for a different private practice in the area and,
Okay.
just did some assessments there on a part-time basis and that was it. And started to then do some networking on my own to kind of build the assessment load at that practice. So I started, getting to know other people in the community and forming those relationships and things like that. So that was very helpful.
Okay.
Mhm.
So we started off as a side hustle. When did it become Turning Point's Educational Solutions and then tell us about what you do there, what your team is like.
hmm So in 2013, I started Turning Points, and for the first 2 years, it was just me as a sole practitioner. So it was similar to before, focusing on assessments and things like that. And it got to the point where if it was going to grow any further, I needed to start bringing other people on board. I needed some office support, and things like that. So in 2015, I incorporated, so switched from a sole practitioner to an incorporation and started hiring people. So I hired a full-time in-person office manager, and the first person I ever hired was an educational therapist who is still with us today.
That's cool.
Yeah, she's great. And so started from there and then have just built slowly. So it's been kind of nice because sometimes I put ads out like I really want another educational therapist or I want another psychologist or things like that. But a lot of how we've grown has just been organically with, knowing people who are really good at what they do and
Yeah.
talking with them about coming on board. And then what is it that you would like to, provide here? What is it? What are your strengths and what do you want to do? And then we gradually offer more services, with that, and I like that because then people are choosing the types of cases and things they're doing and really love what they do here.
Yeah. They've got you're their dream job. They get to do what
Hopefully.
they want every single day. So that's
Yeah.
fantastic. How
Yeah.
the name Turning Points Educational Solution, is there a story behind the name at all? What was the
Yeah.
inspiration?
Yeah, it just that it was a real turning point for me to leave the schools and go into private practice, and that resonated with me for other people too. So, just how we can be on a path that we think we're going to be on maybe forever, and things can change, and we grow in different ways, and we take a different path, and learners, the people that come to us for assessments and things like that, I think that's a powerful thing for them to think about too. A lot of times they come here and things have been hard for a while. But once we have all the information that we get from an assessment, we know what to do to make things better. And that becomes a big turning point and very impactful for them, hopefully.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so you've got psychologists that are doing assessment and you've got educational therapists. What other services do you guys provide, or is that the bulk?
I just hired a speech and language pathologist.
Oh,
So
wow.
Yes, and she has expertise with adults and autism and executive functioning coaching, so she can provide a wide variety of services. And I have a coach that provides a combination of college advising, career counseling, and executive functioning coaching. So she's amazing with people who are in that transition phase and they're not sure which direction to go. They need a little help with that process, maybe need a little help with getting those things done, the steps needed to
Yeah.
make those things happen. Um, and then some of our psychologists are also doing ADHD and autism coaching as well. So,
Oh, wow.
yeah.
Okay.
Mhm.
Okay. And so age of your typical client?
So we serve ages 3 through adulthood,
Okay.
so, even for adults that are thinking about going back to school at some point or wanting some vocational support and things like that, we're working kind of with the whole age range. But, the majority are K through 12, K through college,
Hmm.
that's primarily what we've been doing. I think we've expanded and started seeing more adults in the last year or two.
Yeah. That's the
Mhm.
majority of my workload is adults. I do a lot of ADHD and autism assessments and then ongoing support. So I feel like
Yeah,
I don't know if it's like that in a lot of communities. I just don't feel like there's a lot of support for that group of people. It's like when they're little, there's a whole lot. And then as they become an adult, they're like, poof, there's no more services and support. So
right.
it'd be interesting. I'm gonna do a survey or something, find out. So your role, like I was looking at your website before you got on, and you have a lot of people that work for you. It's a
Mhm.
big team. So your day to day at Turning Points, are you working with clients? Are you more in an administrative role, or is it you're just doing all the things in a master juggler?
I'm in that transition really period where I'm still doing assessments and I hope to always do assessments in some capacity because I really love them. But I'm at a point where the practice is growing quite a bit, especially now that we have a second office.
Hmm.
And so I do need to take fewer assessments and have more time for the management piece. Right now, the other psychologists that I have on staff are still all full-time in the schools.
Okay.
So they're really only available for assessment on the weekends. And then ongoing services during the week a little bit too. But so I'm looking for at least one other, excuse me, psychologist who can help with assessments during the week. So that will really help to free up more time for me to take on more administrative support and, things like that to grow even further.
Okay. Well, it's a nice service though that you do have availability on the weekend. I bet that's a big selling point is that people can not have to miss work or school or whatever to be able to go get their assessment done. So,
Right.
yeah, that's nice. Um, I had a question and it just escaped my brain. Oh, you said the first person that you hired was like a office manager person. Do you feel like that made a big difference in growing your business?
A huge difference.
Why?
So I was spending so much time with intakes and the phone calls and the emails and things like that before I hired somebody to be that office manager intake coordinator. So that took a huge amount of work off of my plate. And of course, they still have questions, that I help them with responding, when they don't know the answers to things. But, that is a huge load off my plate. And right now I have a young office manager. She's just a year out of undergrad, and so she has a ton of tech knowledge. So
Nice.
she's revamped our website. We're in the process of putting, a booking page on our website for the IQ assessments that we do, where people can just fill out the paperwork and book online without, going through the office if they
Hmm.
want to. So just all of the things that they're able to do like that is saving us time and helping us to be more efficient and
Yeah.
make the practice easier for people to access and things like that. So it's been huge.
I forget that you're in that. So your area has a lot of private schools that
Yeah.
need in IQ testing in order to get in, right? See, that's totally foreign to me. My area,
Oh,
like, there's nothing like that here. And so I've met other people. My friend in the Bay Area, she does a ton of just of IQ testing. I'm like, that would be fun. I could whip see all day long. That'd be
oh
fun.
my gosh. Yeah. It is so fun. It's so game-like and the kids a lot of times when they leave, they don't want to leave. They want to come back again, you
Yeah.
know. So they have a good time. It's quick and easy and fun and we turn those around right away. So yeah, that's a fun part of what we do.
Yeah, that's fun. I always forget because that's just not a niche that's even available in my area. We have a
Yeah.
handful of private schools and they'll take you if you can afford to go. And that's about it.
Yeah.
There's no other criteria.
Yeah.
Um, okay, so your next question is, can you share a favorite success story or memorable moment from your work?
I honestly can't choose just one. It is so hard. We have so many success stories, and I really feel like every time I do an assessment, I feel like it's successful in some way, right? As I mentioned before, so many people come in because they've been struggling for a while in some capacity, and
Yeah.
just talking with them during the assessment, it's so powerful when I see the hope kick in again for the first time and sometimes a long time,
Mhm.
right? Like they realize it's not because they're not capable enough that they've been struggling, and that we know what to do to make things better.
Mhm.
And it's usually not all that hard, right? We
Yeah.
can get some good supports in place and it's going to make a big difference. So just seeing that hope in their eyes again for the first time is powerful. We get, with our ongoing clinicians, like our ed therapists and ed specialists, we recently had a middle school boy that cried because his parents needed to reduce his services a little bit for temporarily
Oh,
while they focus on some other things. And, for a middle school boy to want to come to somebody, that's providing that educational support for him weekly, that's huge.
yeah.
They're really invested and see what a difference it's making for them. And our clinicians are really strong at connecting with the clients and forming that relationship with them. So, it's the tears aren't good, but it's nice to see how much that means for them.
Yeah. And don't you think, like, I used to teach grad school, I don't anymore, but I used to tell people because they would get so worried about like counseling appointments or establishing rapport. And I'm like, honestly, if that kid can tell that you care about them, you're fine. Doesn't matter what I mean, like, it doesn't matter how it goes, doesn't matter what the testing is like, whatever. I mean, if they know that you're on their side
Right,
and you, like you said, that hope is so important. And so many people have felt broken for so long and shame because they couldn't do the things that people said they should be able to do.
right,
And just giving them that explanation and kind of helping them understand who they are and how they work and that there's nothing broken, just different.
right,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
I
I
just
love
love that process so much. That's
it.
why
Hmm.
I hope to always do assessment in some capacity because it's so rewarding.
Hmm. Do you guys
Hmm.
do IEEs?
We do.
Okay.
We are a little selective about those and make sure that we, have the expertise and the time and things like that. But yes, we do.
Okay. Yeah. I'm pretty picky now. I would say when I started my LEP, it was like if somebody called, I said yes.
Right. Please, I need the
Please.
business.
Absolutely. Tell your friends.
Yeah, yeah,
But now it's like, no, you can have this other person's number. I'll go ahead and
right.
refer that one on. That's a nice thing. Do you do any and I'm throwing questions at you. Did you do any school-based support? Anything at schools contracting or coverage of
Oh,
school psych needs, anything like that?
not yet, really. We have had a few cases where we've sent like one of our ed therapists or ed specialists out to the schools to provide compensatory services for
Oh,
districts.
okay.
So we've had a couple cases of that, even though we're not in NPS at this point. We and we can sometimes go out to private schools too if they have
Mhm.
space for us during the day to provide intervention and things like that. We haven't really contracted a lot for assessments, although I think a district's going to be reaching out soon about that. So I'm definitely open to talking more about that. And that's another aspect of the business that I think is there we have definitely room to grow in, and we could
Mhm.
add that as a service that we regularly provide. So
Mhm.
I'd love to talk more with you sometime about that because I know you
Sure.
do that a lot.
Yeah, that's where I started. I mean, I guess technically I shouldn't have, but I graduated with my school psych degree and I was pregnant with my daughter and I didn't want I didn't want a full-time gig. And there were no part-time positions. And so I just made one for myself by connections that I had made during my internship. They set me up with these small schools. Kern County has like 50, more than 50 school districts within the county.
Oh,
And
wow.
so a whole lot of them are these teeny tiny places. Like I had one school district that I served for probably 5, 6 years as their school site. They had 28 children in the entire school district.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So, I'm going out there maybe once or twice a year, but that's how I started was with contracting. So it was fun. And I will say being a contracting person instead of the district psych, I tend to feel like I have more of a voice than I did when I was the go-to person because I'm an outsider. I don't know what it is about it, but it's like they would take things that I said and suggested more, but I know that if the school psych had done it, they wouldn't, which is not
Yeah.
cool for that
Right.
person.
Right.
But yeah, I've experienced that. So I do, that's part of mine is supporting small school districts or covering a maternity leave, but I'm
Yeah.
trying to go the other way. I'm trying to get more and more of the private practice like you've got. I don't know if I want quite the empire that you were growing over there, but yeah, I'm like this that's I want to live more on the private practice side of things. Um,
Yeah.
Okay, so what is the most reward? I feel like we've already kind of talked about this, but what's the most rewarding part of having your own practice, being an LEP? Like, where would you go with that?
Um, I think just being able to control the quality of what we do, like making sure that we're providing really good research-based intervention. That's what we're recommending in our reports. Um, being able to network and form relationships with people in the community so that we can refer out as necessary and really find great supports for people. I really love that. And, since I've been hiring more staff, it's also nice to support them and
Hmm.
see them grow in whatever capacity that they're hoping to grow in
Hmm.
and, branch out and do more than they are sometimes able to do in the schools and things like that too. So that's been really nice more recently.
Yeah, so you're getting to be a mentor as well as the boss lady. Uh, that's
Yeah.
cool. That's cool. So I didn't write this question down either, but you kind of just touched on it. How do you market your business or how have you grown it? Has it been mostly through like in-person networking or how did you grow it to the point that it is today?
Yeah, the first thing I did was connect with the learning specialists at private schools in this area. I get a lot of referrals from private schools, so families who don't want to go through the public school process or they know they're not going to ever qualify for special ed, that's a milder, thing that's
Mhm.
going on, and things like that. So that has been huge. And that's what I'm focused on right now with the peninsula expansion too, is making more connections with the private schools up there. Um, I also have networked a lot with marriage and family therapists and like clinical psychologists that don't provide assessment, that provide more of the therapeutic piece because we refer out for that.
Mhm.
So I like to get to know them so I know who I'm referring to. But then also they're not providing us the kind of assessment that
Right.
we do. So they love referring to us and working collaboratively on those cases. So I get a lot of referrals from the people doing that therapeutic intervention. Um, doctors, word of mouth, then since I've started, doctors have received our reports and things like that. So then we get regular referrals from some pediatricians or psychiatrists or, things like that, or other related professionals, speech therapists, OTs,
Isn't
those
that a
kinds
nice feeling when you get a
of.
referral and you're just like, oh, cool. I must have done okay.
Yeah. Or I love it when, we have a connection with a private school, they put us on our list, but then, the head of school comes to us for the assessment, like
Hmm.
they're choosing us over the other folks, and things
Yeah.
that feels really good and that they're putting their trust in us and have faith in us like that.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, I always get a kick out of it. I had one the other day that I think I posted about it in my little small group, my group, but I was like, I was checking on the referral sources and it was like one was, a person's was like a civil rights attorney, which I'm like, I don't even know who that person was. And then it was another, but all these big wigs. And then the last one was like, the person's neighbor's uh stylist. And I went, what? But I mean, but that's how, to me, that's how you grow your business is like making that reputation for yourself and having that level of quality that people know, and then like they tell their friends and they tell their
Right.
friends. And you know,
Right.
um, I mean, there's a lot of different marketing platforms out there and you can hire somebody to do things, and I'm sure that those do help as well. But I always feel like that word of mouth and those connections that you've made, that's what
Yeah.
makes it. That's what
That's
makes it
very
big.
powerful. Yeah.
Okay, well, we have reached the point in our show for the rapid fire round. Are you ready?
Okay. I'm ready.
Okay. Kim, what is your favorite cognitive assessment?
I'd have to say the Wexler scales.
Okay,
I've just given them so much. I know them so well. I can get so much information from every single subtest I give. So I love them.
that's it. You're a
Yeah,
Wexler, you're a Wexler one. Okay.
I am.
Report writing music preference.
I cannot have music on. I have to solely focus and concentrate and think deeply, and music distracts me in any form. So I can't have it on. It has to be quiet.
So you have to have silence. You do like a white noise or a whatever to kind of block out noise? No,
No,
you
no,
just
I
get in
don't
the
need
zone.
that. But yeah, I just need some general quiet and can get in that zone.
Okay. I have to have music that has no lyrics because
Yes, that's what I recommend a lot for
if I
students.
can hear people talking, then I'm like, ooh, what's going on in there?
Right.
And I work in an office with a bunch of therapists, so there's often very fun conversations happening on the other side of the wall.
Of course.
Biggest source of referrals to your practice.
Private schools, I would say.
Okay. If you could invent a new assessment tool, what would it measure?
Determination.
Oh,
Determination goes a long way, right? Like,
yes.
yeah, and that
That's
effort and not giving up, all of that. Yeah.
yeah, okay, okay. And favorite way to unwind after a busy day?
Just really losing myself in a book or a movie or a TV show, just really getting in depth with that and not thinking about anything else for a while.
What are you watching right now?
Wednesday.
Just so am I.
Oh, I love it. I think we have a Halloween trick or treat where kids come around to the businesses in downtown Willow Glen, and we're gonna be Wednesday characters this
Oh, you
year.
better post pictures of that. That'll be awesome.
Yes.
That's so fun. I haven't
Yeah.
finished. I got two more to go to finish out the
Same.
season.
Yeah. I have two more. I watched the last one last night.
Oh, I love it. Yes, that was great, wasn't it? That was
Yes.
hilarious. Oh, anyways, it
Yes.
counts. No spoilers. Other people might not have watched it yet.
Right.
Okay. And then so you're a big reader.
I try to be when I have time. Right now things are super busy, but yeah, I love
Right.
reading.
Is there a genre that you tend to go towards?
I Some of my favorite authors, Dean Koontz is one of
Oh,
them.
okay.
Yeah, his books are such page turners, you
Yeah.
know. Once you start, you can't put it down. I
Yeah.
love those.
I'm a sappy romance novel girl.
Ah, okay.
It's me all the way. That's my favorite way to unwind.
Yeah.
Okay, so going back to questions, what would you, if you could go back to the Kim that was still working in schools and still kind of felt like a gatekeeper, and is starting to think about maybe getting their LEP, what would you say, what advice would you give that pre-LEP self?
Work on being more flexible. And
Oh, tell me more
yeah,
about that.
that's, it's an ongoing thing for me to just, work on, you get stuck in your ways a little bit, and this is the way
Mhm.
we do things. And thinking outside the box is just where it's at. You've got to constantly be thinking of how can we pivot? How can we do things better? How can we make some changes? I mean, going through COVID, as a
Oh, yeah.
private practice owner, we had to majorly pivot, as did schools and everybody else. But yeah, you've just got to be flexible and be able to think of different ways of doing things and be open to different suggestions and things like that. I think that's really
That's
helpful.
it. Be
Yeah.
flexible. Okay.
Yeah.
So what's next for you and Turning Point's educational solutions?
I think we have had the focus of really making a difference client by client, going, in the past, and that's great. Making those individual changes and helping one person at a time. But I think I'm starting to shift my thinking more towards systematic changes and what can I do to change the system so it's better.
Wow.
Um, So, I have some ideas for some exciting things coming up with getting some additional training and maybe going out to schools to provide some trainings and things like that. I think that we rely a lot on accommodations
Hmm.
when we should be focused on accommodations are temporary and we want to address what's really going on so that we don't need those accommodations forever. And
Yes.
that's where I'm kind of, my mind is at right now and how to make that shift and how to help others make that shift. If, for example, I've kind of, you just kind of get in the habit of this person has this going on, and so we make this recommendation. Like, um, I went to a workshop recently about the research base behind the accommodations that we're recommending
Yeah.
and which provide an advantage and level the playing field, and which actually provide an unfair advantage, and which are detrimental. So, for
Wow.
example, if we're recommending extra time on tests for people with anxiety, it's actually detrimental
Because they're
because
not being forced to live in that discomfort.
yeah, they've got to be able to feel that feeling and learn how to manage it in order for it to get better. If we just accommodate it and allow them to avoid it, it gets worse.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what's on my mind now. How do we make some systematic changes to help with those things and really intervene versus rely on
Hmm.
accommodations?
Hmm. That I had this student. I had a long-term contract with a high school. And I remember meeting with a parent, and they were adamant that their daughter with anxiety disorder should not be expected to do any sort of presentations in class, just the normal things. And I remember trying to get that through to the mom, as I'm like, we're not going to give her this. We can adjust it for now, but if she doesn't learn to sit in that discomfort, she's going to learn instead that the more we run away from it, like that response is going to become even quicker. I never could get it through to the mom. She was just like, but it makes her uncomfortable. And I'm like, yeah, there's lots of things in life that make you uncomfortable. We can't run from
Right.
all of them. So I love that. I'd never even thought about that, that
Yeah.
some, when we write them down, are actually being a disservice. Some of them for sure, or obviously we're making this too easy on like there's nothing, but I'd never thought about it the other way of like, okay, that accommodation is actually hurting this child in the long run.
Right. In
Yeah.
that same workshop that I went to about accommodations, I found out about the space program that Eli Leibovitz out of Harvard has developed.
Okay.
And it's training for parents and caregivers so that they learn how to not accommodate for the anxiety, but they help their child or student to live in that moment, to feel those feelings and manage them. So I'm recommending that a lot for the parents when their children have anxiety, and I'm getting some more training in that program. And I'm hoping to bring a workshop here locally to our folks in this area that adapt the space program techniques to use in schools, so we can
That's
specifically use
amazing.
that. Yeah.
Yeah. And I don't know, I think that since COVID, anxiety has spiked. I don't think, I mean, I feel like it's maybe come down. We're not hearing about it as much, but it's still there. And it became a thing that people were afraid of. Whereas I'm like, well, anxiety is a natural, like we need it. There's a
We all
reason
have
for
anxiety.
fear and
Yeah.
anxiety, and some of
Yeah.
those things make us very safe because of those things. But
Right.
it's like we've lost maybe as a society the ability to just sit in discomfort and be like, I'm uncomfortable right now, and it's
Hmm.
okay. Won't last forever. Sucks
Right.
right now.
That mindfulness piece of
Yeah.
naming it and accepting
Hmm.
it and yeah, feeling through it. Yeah.
No, I love that though. I think that's an amazing thing that you've got coming up. So that is excellent. All right, we've already shared Turning Point's Educational Solutions. You got two locations. You're doing all these cool, amazing things. You got a giant team. If people have questions for you or like, I need Kim in my life, what's the best way for them to get in touch with you or with your business?
So our website is great, www.turningpointsed.com. So turning points with an SED.com. And we're on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. So if you people want to follow us on social media, we're on there as well. Our intake coordinator, Avery, tends to be our first point of contact when people reach out, and she's amazing. So she can help people with insurance questions and booking questions and get them set up with a trial session for our ongoing folks and things like that. So, but our website has all of that information on it, so that's a really great place to start.
Cool. And then we need to follow you on social media so we can see the pictures of everyone dressed up as Wednesdays characters.
Yes.
Yes, absolutely. All right. Well, thank you so much, Kim. This was a lot of fun, and I feel like I learned a whole bunch about you. And I appreciate you coming and giving me some of your time because I know it's probably pretty busy.
It is, but I really appreciate this opportunity, and we definitely have to keep in touch and learn from each other more because I know that I could learn a lot from you too.
Yeah. Well, yeah, we can definitely keep in touch. Whether or not I have anything to teach you, I have no idea, but
Oh, you
that
definitely
sounds
do.
great. That sounds great. All right. Thank you so much.
Okay, take care.